Okay, we got a bit of a two-fer today because I was a little behind because, frankly, current circumstances have kept me rather busy doing other things like trying to stay alive and keep a roof over our heads. But I watched, again, getting a couple episodes of Lower Decks Review today. I did the Kayshon when his eyes when it dropped, and then just watched We'll Always Have Tom Paris just a little while ago. And I think the best comment overall about Lower Decks that I saw was a comment on Twitter that really Lower Decks is an indictment of Kurtzman Trek, because they do poke a lot of fun at the stuff that Kurtzman likes to, it's all phaser fights and stuff. And Boimler, in his bumbling little sincerity, is really kind of like, this isn't what we joined Starfleet for. This is what Starfleet's about, and lays it out. And, of course, they've really scaled back on the overt references, but they still got a few, especially this, in the Tom Paris one. But they're really kind of poking gentle fun at it. It's from a fan's perspective, they know this stuff is weird sometimes. And you also, begs the question: how would I'm beginning, what the name of the guy from Dharma? How would they even function as well? These guys learning to speak regular English, phrasing without and just directing without metaphor, something. Whereas just the metaphor thing is just an occasional when he's trying to figure out what to say. It's he breaks out in the metaphor, and that's the thing. And also, for the most of the episode, he's turned into a puppet anyway. So. But this one in the Kayshon His Eyes Open, the Easter eggs really are in the stuff behind it, the visual stuff, because they're calling out a collector's stash, like the same collectors guild that tried to get data, and they even reference that. Didn't he try to get data? They all try to collect data. And if you pretty free Trek culture went through, they isolated 53 different Easter eggs in this episode. Okay, and again, none of them from Discovery or Picard, all from classic established Trek, the Star Trek franchise. A few things you wonder: how did they get Data's visor, from poker games, or head visor, or Neelix's apron, because it's weird stuff that's in there, but somehow these guys got. And again, if you can lay off the hate for the humor and stuff, you do get a lot of character development in these things, and we'll just skip past all this stuff because it's a rollicking thing where they're running around getting shot at from this automated system because some guy decided to steal something they should have, and it was trying to blame it on Starfleet. Nah, you stole the horny helmet. Okay. And meanwhile, Boimler is, you'd think he's supposed to be having the time of his life, and the train is scared shitless. But his fanboy worship of all things Starfleet, and especially the Enterprise, and good thing, it's like, yes, transporter clone, and the thing of how to get a transporter beam past these, containment field, or interference fields there. And thing is that it results in the same thing, a transporter clone. Problem is the clone apparently was much cooler and braver than the original, so he stayed on the Titan, having a good old time with Riker, and regular Boimler goes back to the Cerritos. So, I think it's like, and since Riker's had experience with this before, boy has he ever. Let's just cut to the chase here. You're going back to the Cerritos as an ensign. Meanwhile, your clone here is sticking around. And the best thing is when he gets back to when Boimler gets back to the Cerritos, and he explains what transporter clones, and Rutherford turns to Denny, pay up. What, you bet on it? Well, it just seems like it's such a Boimler thing to do. And just when Jet was starting to fit in with the rest of them, you're out again, Boimler's back. And then moving on to this week, and so they're continuing thread lines. Boimler's supposed to be back in the system now. He's back on board, but they've tightened up security, so it's taken a while to finally sink in. He can't access the replicators. It won't open the doors for him. He's having to crawl through Jeffrey's tubes to get anywhere. He almost got caught in a plasma thing with the emergency shutdown. No authorization. You don't need no authorization for an emergency. And all because he's got collective. And they even and again, this is where it takes a fan to know this sort of thing. We're talking about he's referring to the voyage as Voy. What do you call it, a Voy? And that's going the penchant for abbreviating all the shows into 3-letter acronyms. And Voyager is VOY. And first it's silly, yeah, that does save time, And so we got to Boimler trying to get his commemorative Tom Paris plate autographed because Tom Paris is doing like a goodwill tour, I guess, of all the different ships. And Boimler's trying to get to the bridge, but the thing is, none of the doors will let him in. The turbo lift won't let him in. So he's crawling through Jeffrey's tubes trying to get to the bridge. Meanwhile, Tendi and Mariner are off on running a secret errand for the doctor. She wants an old family heirloom back because it's going nuts otherwise. And we get some good, going through here. I'm gonna double check. The Quailor 2 is what the thing was held, and supposedly it's like the same places in one Picard episode. It's probably about as close as you get. So okay, same planet, the gaudy. So that's probably the closest you're ever gonna get to a Picard connection. Hopefully, and even then, it's tangential at least. But we learned about Klingon acid punk. It's not all opera. They do have rockers too. You'd think they would. You'd expect to be, the Klingon should be awash in death metal bands and other things. But you'll see Tendi and Mariner start to learn, about each other because this stuff that we know, because we've been around these things, but these two never really hung out together, so she doesn't know that this is Mariner's 5th ship, not her first. And it turns out that actually Mariner served on DS9 before going to the whatever the show, whatever her first ship was. I forget the name of it. See something. So she knows Worf, and in fact, she broke his mech at one point. Got it fixed before he knew it was gone. But also, we really learned a little more about Tendi and her relation, and the female Orion still still boss people around on the home planet. And a little bit about, she's actually quite, got quite a title. It's like Mistress of the Midnight or something. And of course, reinforcing that her first name was Devana. What? That's my name. You don't know my name. We worked for over a year. So, and and of course, the big gag, they get back to the ship. There's supposedly some kind of sex toy scratching post inside this box where they break, and that's led to the Orion thing. But they get back to the ship, and she didn't care about the post. She wanted the box. Okay, she's a cat. Okay, just gets to the office and crawls. That's the stuff. And of course, and the big surprise right early on, and we drag to the thing, is that Shrax is back. But he died, and of course, it's playing on the gag of how nobody's ever really completely dead, and there's always some way to bring him back. And of course, they do a rapid fire releasing of all the different ways: mirror clone, Borg, Nexus, whatever. And Rutherford is an engineer. He has to figure things out. That's what he does. So it's driving him nuts, trying to figure out how did Shrax come back. And then one poor lieutenant gets ready. Hey, how did you? You're out of line, mister. But I know he was dead. It's like, we had a funeral and everything. But after Rutherford gets kind of bonkers, he's getting haunted by different versions of mirror universe. Shrek. It's like, I gotta know. Okay. And you kind of feel like it's my fault. No, I know. Okay, it wasn't your fault. I was just, and then he starts to tell the very dark mystery about the Black Mountain, and so we're like, ah! So it's like, hey, did he ever tell you? No, he never, no, never find out. It's like, yeah, they're just jerks. Somehow Boimler manages to get to the bridge, but by the time he gets up there, I have to rewatch that again, but somehow he drops down through a vent under the bridge. And Paris goes nuts and starts beating the crap out because he thinks he's someone else. Like, I don't know. And so, no, he didn't get the plate signed, but he got the black eye he got from him was much cooler, and he's going to get an apology after an apology. Okay, great. And we get a bit. Oh, the door won't work. No, boy, that's a wall with a seam. The door's over there. I might have a concussion too. Okay. Like I said last, I think partially. I mean, I think this is the one show that will make it out of the rest. When the rest of them are finally rejected, as no, that's crap. That's all time. Get rid of it. This is the one though, because this is the one that's actually getting some fan support back, like me and Captain Foley on Trek Yards and others. It's like, no, this is it. This is the real stuff, guys. That's not completely trash, okay? At the very least, don't lump it in with Discovery and Picard, because it's not. The only connection Kurtzman has to this is the fact that it has to go through Secret Hideout as one of the production companies. But otherwise, they have nothing to do with it. They don't have anything, certainly nothing creatively to do with it. Sorry. And Kurtzman said he does not send them notes. They do occasionally ask questions, but it was during the initial pitch meeting, when McMahon put this thing, and he wanted to do a story about the guys down in the lower levels who enabled so you can put in a yellow card in a slot and now comes a banana. The guys who make all the stuff work. Like I said, the lower decks guys.
Ow.
And I think I best feel was like original Star Trek Wagon Train to the Stars, Deep Space Nine, Rifleman in Space. This is McHale's Navy in space. Okay, yeah. That's the way to look at it. And no, it's not a perfect analogy, but neither is Wagon Train to the Stars because the Enterprise was not leading the wagon train of the settlers all the time. With the whole thing of be essentially an anthology, but you'd have regular sets and a regular cast of characters, and they would go and they would find the adventures and go to them. DS9, you had a different thing where you had man raising his son alone out on the wild frontier, and the adventurers come to them because you got the wormhole. And in one of those cases over Marina Sirtis kind of hit on the point. Voyager was Star Trek Lost in Space. So. That was back before she realized she was a bitch, okay?
And she is.
And that's not just because she follows Tottenham Hotspur. No, she turned into a full-blown nutcase. But
she blue-pilled.
Yeah, but if you... Like I said, if some people just don't like cartoons anyway, I'm not going to sway them. I'm not going to try. Some people don't like the kind of, slightly subversive humor that you have into something like that. It's for us, some of the same guys who do Rick and Morty. And I get a kick out of Rick and Morty. I like that kind of, take a concept and twist it up into a pretzel and see what you do. And with the thing is, what they're doing with Star Trek is they're not really subverting the stuff. They're adding to it, and they're showing the lower levels point. And not just but the lower levels of the ship, the lower levels of the fleet. Because, I said this is like the Merchant Marine. I mean, and not a perfect analogy either, because the Merchant Marines are a civilian horse in that part of the military. But this is the part of the fleet, again, that they don't go out exploring. They're the ones who bring up the rear and, again, deliver mail and pizzas. It's a totally different. They got totally different chain of command, a different uniform. Even the admirals in that thing are different uniforms than the admirals in mainline Starfleet.
Yeah. Isn't that kind of why they have the Cerritos name pasted on the back?
There was a reason why the name and register is on the back of the saucer instead of the front, because usually these ships are towing something else, and you're looking at your like a big cargo thing. You're looking at the back of the hull. Okay, that's what you're gonna see all damn day. No one's looking at the front of these ships. So and I'd like see some of these California class ships and different because this the gold stripe around the hull. It means the same thing as the gold stripe on the uniform. It's a support and services vessel. Presumably, they're probably California ship out there with a command stripe. They actually do some probably military defense stuff, and then blue ones were strictly research vessels, science vessels. So far from country, this is adding to a whole new level of Starfleet we didn't know about. But the Titan is proof that the Starfleet we know is still there. They're still out going there being the best of the best of the best, showing that yes, we're friendly. And then after they've set up everything, so okay, and now we're bringing the B squad to finalize the thing and just set up a cell phone service and regular pizza delivery. But this show really, people really need to give this show a better shot. Okay, it is not subversive. It's partially our own fault in our vociferous defense of Star Trek against the evils of Kurtzman and his this merry band of morons. We just start trashing anything that doesn't line up four square with us, and well, Roddenberry was critical about the comedy being, with the comic element in Star Trek being sneak in, and so I brought in Fred Freiberger to try and get it back online with the series. I think he would appreciate this show because he did a pilot, APO 903, but it was a military comedy. It was kind of the same vein as MASH, long before MASH was even thought of at that point. But I'm not even sure the book was written yet. But that's the sort of thing. What the stories they had planned for. They only got the pilots. Pat Harrington was in it. I'd like to see that one of these days. Rod, start putting out a Roddenberry collection of these pilots that have never seen the light of day. I'd like to see that. And it was going to be a military themed comedy. I think maybe jumping on the because maybe Hogan's Heroes might have been started at the time. McHale's Navy was going, early '60s. So maybe they're like, kind of, hey, this looks like a fun thing, and based on his experience in the South Pacific, So Rod, and even as dour as the Cage is supposed to, if there's a few humorous lines here and there, okay, The captain, I was wondering who would have been Eve. And Eve as an Adam, as in all ships, doctors are dirty old men. What are we running a cadet troop? Number one, are we ready or not? So no, Roddenberry wasn't opposed to humor, but he didn't want Star Trek to be turned into a sitcom. I think he kind of felt it was going that direction. But I think he would have appreciated the show, and nothing, if only the fact it doesn't contradict anything. It is still very much rooted in established Star Trek canon. And everything shown is based on established Star Trek canon. And they're also not afraid to poke fun at the times when when Mariner had a little holodeck program and it turned into a Star Trek movie with the credits flying by, and then and they showed the shuttle approaching it is pure hardcore starship pornography. They're flying around the ship and all the loving the lens flares everywhere. Okay. We have to be able to laugh at ourselves occasionally, okay? It cannot be this must be we got to be able to lighten up a bit, okay? And this show is how you do it, okay? Now, again, it would help if there was a legitimate live-action Star Trek show to counterbalance it a bit. And a live-action show on the Titan might do that. Where we could see, Riker and not being quite so goofy, okay? They do carry it over a bit. Of course, Frakes is lovingly gnawing the scenery, but, Okay, warping 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. It's like, come on. Okay, that is over the top, but but like I said, we do need to lighten up. Okay, save the vitriol for where it's deserved. Okay, like Discovery and Picard, they the full phasers right on this concentrated fire, take them out. But this is not that. This is not that target. Okay, we really and there's I'm still seeing the same accusations, and it's like, no, not really. They've backed off a lot on that. Okay, and you do get genuine character development when Mariner admits they're back of the shuttle going back, and Mariner admits why they haven't gotten chummy, because everyone she gets to know and opens up to gets promoted and out of there, and she just no, don't bother making friends anymore. I mean, there's some really good character development going on here, but everyone's getting caught up in it's Rick and Morty. No, come on, lighten up, okay? Let go of the prejudices for a little bit and just watch the show. Because actually, the Rick and Morty criticism was not quite valid either, because Rick and Morty is a very surrealist show. Then the animation style is like it's because the way all the characters driven are much more abstract in there, and it's a little more. And it's like just saw the first episode of this season. It's like, I am Mr. Nib. Yeah, we're gonna hear that a lot, Morty. Okay. And Morty's trying to get lucky. Nobody cares about your dick, Morty. But even that one, the very involved script, because Rick threw a case of wine through a wormhole, through some kind of time portal to age it some, and Morty's going back and forth. That interaction, because some guy and the time dilation in between, entire civilizations rise and fall based on this whole thing, just because Rick wanted some wine for dinner. That's the kind of thing. It takes real sci-fi fans to have these kind of cuts to make them work on a comedic level at all. Now again, like or don't like, I have no control over it. I can't influence that. Either you do or you don't. You appreciate the kind of absurdist humor or you don't. I just want the criticism to be valid, and based on something real, and not just because it's by Kurtzman. No, it's not by Kurtzman. Okay. Let's get real here. He does not anything to do with the show, so let's stop trying to label it as one of his. It's not. It's a marriage of convenience. Okay, they don't even live in the same apartment. All right.
It's a green card marriage.
Yeah, pretty much. And if they ever finally do figure out some way to get rid of Kurtzman, because when I heard it's a really just one CBS exec kind of did a fast one, because the Paramount heads want him gone, because he has been destroying the brand with his other stuff. But I also heard that hopefully the extension of his contract includes getting him out of any creative control of anything, and he has to hire somebody who knows the franchise and can run it. And that may not have been a big hard sell, because Kurtzman's never been a big fan, and he wants to do other stuff. He doesn't want to. He was more interested in Clarice, which has been canceled because it's so bad. It's the one case of where the Star Trek Fig Leaf wasn't covering him, and he was ravaged. And Entertainment Weekly openly called him an IP hack. And so there should be a moratorium on how many old properties you can control in 1 year. But anyway, give it a shot, guys. Okay, it might be good really to go back now that you know where this thing goes and how it plays out, and it does lay off on the heavy references. Go back and watch it from the beginning. It's only like 10 episodes or so per season. Skip and just watch it. Don't judge. Don't think. Just watch it. Let the show run. And you'll be able to see how it, because some people say they bailed out. Well, you bailed out when it started getting good. Okay, when they satisfied the network's requirements, because really the first 3 episodes, the network wanted all those heavy references, and bam, 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 bam. We're Star Trek. Please, levels. Come on. Once they got that established and got into it, they started to ease up a bit and got some real storytelling going on there. And of course, now the next season, that's all done. Okay, yeah, you still got references here and there, but it's no longer, stuff we could probably fill another chapter of concordance in. Just, whatever. So, I got that away. We are currently at the point where we still need money for tomorrow. We're doing this like day by day, okay? And that gets tedious, especially tedious, okay? I mean, I'm not saying anybody has to step up and give us 500, 600, but several of you together, doing 10, 20 here and there, it will add up, and then we'll be able to get ahead of this thing. And I can sit back and relax on it, and I won't be, one episode behind. I won't be doing twofers. I can actually sit and do this thing. And we have other things in the fire here. We've got, in fact, I just filled an application for emergency rental assistance. You can get on the gravy train for some of this, COVID funny money. Get that out of the way, so we can get the state paying for that. That will be a big load off our hands. We're also looking into other things. A big thing also is it's not just paying for the hotel, it's also gas for this stupid van out here. It doesn't run on good intentions. Because if we were able to maintain a full tank of gas in there, I could do a lot of door dashing, make my own money, and not have to come begging to you guys every day or so.
Mm-hmm.
That's another thing. It's like people need to hold. Well, look, without something, I got to be able to fill the tank. I got to be able to go out and do things. And yeah, it doesn't get great mileage, especially when going all over town.
Mm-hmm.
And this thing really, that one day I did it was like for about 3 hours, and I really went all over town. I plotted out on the map here, starting in Arvada. And yeah, for those of you not familiar with the area, get on a map of the Denver metro area. At first, I started in Arvada and worked around there and wound up just north of Golden at one point. And then coming back in, I wound up in downtown Denver in the diagonal streets there. But 20th and California was my last stop. And I was jigging all around in there. And that burned all the gas that I put in that morning. All $15 worth of gas. I came back with about the same level of tank as when I left. So in order to maintain that, I've enjoyed myself. It was a fun job. It's hard. It is work. You're humping. But I liked it. I liked driving around and getting around town, finding them, locate this restaurant, find this address. It was kind of fun. It's like a scavenger hunt. But
our friend in Arizona has pointed out it's worth it.
Well, it does take time, but it takes gas money, okay? Mm-hmm. And that's why I do hit this so hard, because it's not just a matter of paying for the hotel room. It's also food and gas. We are about out of food right now, and the food card doesn't kick in until Thursday. I mean, thankfully, I managed to clear out that trash and get back to the soup cans we got in here. But and again, I don't. I know it's getting old for everybody else. It's getting damn old for me. I don't like doing this.
And neither do I.
Nobody. Again, people think we're just freeloading. This is not fun, people. Okay. This is seriously not fun. I'm wanting to do reviews like I just did here for these two, and I'm right now. Where am I gonna be here for trekking on Tuesday for tomorrow, or at least without having to rack up a big, massive late fee because we haven't been able to pay for today. And
well, we did pay for today.
We did pay for today, but I pay for tomorrow. We still got to pay for tomorrow, so. And it's going to be like, well, we need like, look at the PayPal and okay, I need another $50 in the next two. The thing this morning, it was like, we need about $50, $60 within the next 2 hours, or we're gonna, or it might as well be 100, because it's going to be late. And thankfully, old friend of Steph's kicked up, and okay, we're saved for today. But this is, it's nerve wracking, it's stressful. We're both going nuts over this whole thing.
And for those people who
started fights online because I'm trying to get a plug-in here and there, and people, oh, that's just class. He's, hey, I can't afford class anymore. Okay. Okay, that went off on a bit of a tangent there, but okay. Point is, yeah, we still need help. We could use more than the usual. Well, here's $20 to get you, and then only one person does it. That's not going to do it. I'm sorry. The $20 is appreciated, but we need help. Okay, the place we're in is $75 a night. If I got the right person at the front counter, if it's someone who they just hired who only knows the rules, that's going to be like $85 a night. So let's just make a nice round $100 so we can actually get to pay the room and actually a little food, because we need food. But that's what we need, some people to contribute. Okay, we need some people to step up. This is honest YouTube here. Okay, honest YouTube on the level where we don't get regular pictures because we don't make enough in AdSense to pay on a regular basis. Okay, I may have to do a video on that because people seem to understand. Well, aren't you monetize? Yeah, technically. But here's how it works, kids, and then we don't start living the PewDiePie lifestyle until we get at least 30,000 subs here, and I've only got 1,300. Okay, that's a long way from the thing you've been paying for yourself, really. Okay, but that's PayPal, Patreon, etc. Links down below. If you can't do it yourself, I'm not holding anybody's feet to the fire here. Again, if you can't do it yourself, pass the links along to someone who can. And like I said, I know the money's out there because I see it every damn week on various channels where people are throwing down $50, $100 super chats on channels that I know are pretty well self-sustaining. Whereas those of us down on the lower end of the food chain are lucky to get, jack squat. Now, that's something that probably should change, but you really, and others, and like the coach said, support your smaller creators here, guys. We're the ones. It's like a kind of a loose confederation of small channels is starting to form here, I think, because I think some of the larger channels are starting to kind of lose sight of where it was way back when no one was making dick,
They're starting to become bullies.
Yeah. If not the channel owners, and certainly some of the mods, and I'm not going to go any further than that. But seem to think because they're a mod on a big ass channel, they can, they're big shit. No, you're just a guy with the wrench on beside your name, with a few extra abilities on a chat. It ain't your channel, okay? Anyway, before I go any further and dock somebody, okay, PayPal, Patreon, yada yada down below, and we will talk at you later.